was like,
Yeah. Awesome. Boost, do we have sound?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Thank you. Trash, huh?
trash.
Oh, it's nice and warm.
What?
It's nice and warm. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. We're trying Google Hangouts instead of Zoom this time. We're trying Google Hangouts instead of Zoom this time. So I don't think they're going to try to limit me at 40 minutes or whatever normally happens.
What? I can't hear what you're saying.
You know how Zoom limits you at 40, 45 minutes? Shouldn't happen with Google Hangouts, I think. Hopefully. We shall see. So we're just waiting for Andrew to take a bathroom break, and then should be here. The current resolution is 960 by 540, which is not optimal. Seems fine to me. Till he hops on here. I will do Zoom so you guys can actually see me. How's it going, everybody? How is everybody doing? I got chocolate milk here. Can't really see it. Oh, maybe if I do this. There you go. Chocolate milk. And if Google Hangouts doesn't work, then of course we can do Zoom or we can do Skype, etc. Gotta say hello. Hello to the half pint. How you doing today, half pint? Oh yeah? Meow.
Meow like you what?
Meow. He's a sleepy half pint. There's some purrs. There's some purrs. We think he's going to be a really, really big cat. What do you think, like 15 pounds? Are you going to be 15 pounds, little kitty? What do you think about that? You going to be a fat ass? Yeah. Alrighty then. Where's Andrew? It's been a while since I used Zoom. Looks like the last Hangouts call I did was Aurora on the 1st, right about 2 years ago. Not the 1st, the 13th of January, almost 2 years ago. Never apologize for bodily noises.
No, you're gonna
Women fart.
Well, I did it right now, but I do.
Yeah. It's normal. Embrace the fart. Always embrace the fart. Let's see. Do we have anybody in chat yet? Who do we have here? Shaw-ish Hannah. How do you say your name? How you diddlin'? I'm not chewing. Actually, no, I am chewing something. Andrea made a dish called trash.
I'll spill it.
This is trash. I already spilt it. What do we have in here? Pretzels, peanuts, Chex, Cheerios,
Rice checks and wheat checks.
shredded wheat like the cereal. Mm-hmm. And there's like a glaze of something in there, right?
Yup.
What's the glaze?
Can't tell you.
Secret recipe glaze. Secret
I'm
glaze.
gonna put it in this one. Yeah, go ahead. I'll put the rest.
Personal use, right?
Me.
Personal use. Shaishama. Okay. Excellent. Andrew appears to be on. The glaze is all the salt and sugar, is that right?
What?
Salt and sugar?
There's no sugar.
No sugar. Okay, let's see if we can get this thing going. Thank you, cat. Allow. Join now. All right.
Right. Relive.
We are live.
Alright.
What's up?
Hello. So, is this another waffle stream?
I titled it Waffle Topics, but I don't know if that necessarily means that we should talk about waffles. I don't know. I need to figure out how to.
Yeah.
Here we go. There we go. I wish I could put them side by side, but I don't know how to do that.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I just see the...
It's all good.
Yeah, I don't have a second device on me this time, so I won't be able to
Tiles.
see the comments.
You will not?
Nope.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just stay vertical. It's okay. So, how long has it been since we did a show? Like a month?
Yeah, about a month, I think. I'm not sure. Something like that.
We have a couple people in the chat. Shai Shauna, Jonathan Moss. Welcome, everybody. You said you wanted to talk about the solstice a little bit?
Yeah. So, they say it's like the changing of the age or whatever from, Pisces to Aquarius, I think. I think that's right. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was looking around. I was waiting for waffles to fall from the sky. They never did, so I'm not sure what happened.
Well, here we didn't have a whole lot of action on the day itself, but was that wind coming in on the solstice, or was it after? Yeah, the morning after the solstice. It was crazy windy here.
Yeah, I woke up and there was like this intense fog. Like, I don't remember if it was the day of or after the solstice. But I woke up, opened my shades, and it was like the most intense fog I've ever seen, I think. Like, I could barely see 3 feet in front of the house, so.
Did you go outside?
Pretty interesting.
Did you go outside?
Did I go outside?
Yeah.
No, I just looked through the curtains. I was, actually on a coconut water fast at the time, so I had, like, no energy to do anything.
Yeah, tell us about your coconut fast.
So I started on the 21st. Unintentionally, actually. That's just kind of the way it worked out. I was like, alright, I'm going to start on, Monday. I think that was Monday that I started. Yeah, it was the 21st, whatever day that was. I was like, alright, I'm going to start on that day. And then I was like, hold on, wait a second. It'd be funny if that was the 21st. So I looked and it was the 21st, and it was like, synchronicity. So, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, we had we had quite a few things happen also on the 21st. And like, I think personally speaking, it was pretty meaningful for us, but as far as the screen or whatever, the outside, I didn't. Maybe it's just because we don't check news and stuff all the time. Maybe they'd be yelling about something on the news. I'm not really sure. I don't even know if they acknowledge it. Do they acknowledge solstice type stuff on regular news?
I don't think so, no.
Probably not, because they're more interested in keeping that knowledge for themselves and trying to manipulate some gain out of it, right?
Right, yeah, they don't really share, any stuff like that on the news, I don't think. They don't talk about solstices or anything like that, or, ages, or, you know, as far as I know. I don't watch the news either. But I think, if they did talk about that, I would have seen a clip about it on, Instagram or something by now. I haven't seen anything about that, so probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to stay away from mainstream news. It's very healthy for you.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just in it to steal all your waffles from off themselves.
Yeah.
They just leave you with the syrup, so you just drink the syrup and get fat. No waffles to keep you healthy.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to consider the idea of theft in the first place, because energetically speaking, there can't be any actual theft, because there isn't any actual ownership. There's just the appearance of ownership, and then you can have the appearance of theft.
Well, what I was saying by that was, like, they kind of latch on and try to steal your energy, which they do, which does have certain effects, usually negative, on the person, but at the same time, if you are a living being, in my opinion, you have infinite energy. So, yes, they're stealing energy, but it's just going to lead to their own destruction down the road, because, you know, something that's not living cannot take living energy and live off of that, parasitically. Like, that is the only way it can live at all, but in the long run it can't even do that, because, you know, it isn't living. In order to run off of living energy, you must be living. And then you have an infinite amount of it.
So you don't need to steal it.
You are it. Right.
Yeah. It's a weird paradox, because when you know that you are the source of your own energy flow and that it is, infinite, then you automatically know that you don't need to steal from anybody, because you have too much anyway.
Yeah.
But when we're playing the game of 3D and stuff like that, then you can have this game which has been played, which is the parasite over here, and then, you know, sort of living being giving off energy over here. And if it is the case that the reals are endlessly outflowing energy, then as long as a reel you wish to play that game on some level, maybe not the here I am right here level, but maybe on some other level that helps set this thing up, that can go on indefinitely, because the energy isn't going to run out. Like that form can continue forever, literally, until you, as the being who's playing that game, say, okay, I'm tired of this particular one now, and I'm going to move on to something else, and then the whole universe will come in at that point and help you out, because we've blocked ourselves off from all kinds of knowledge of how to move, because this place has been so far removed from our original core. This is like incepted, memory walks, memory blocks,
Right.
wipes, all of that stuff.
Right. This whole place is an inversion, in my opinion. That's what it appears to be. And, you know,
Yep.
I've heard other people say that, but that's not why I'm saying it. Like, there are certain YouTube channels who have, like, the main topic of how this is an inverted realm and whatnot. You know, that's not where this is coming from. When I say that this place is inverted, I'm speaking from my own experience. You know,
Can
from
you
my
elaborate on that a little
perspective,
bit?
in my opinion, this place is inverted.
So, like, from your internal perspective, as you move through the day, as you interact with the modalities that are available to you, how do you see that play out? How do you see that inversion aspect play out on a day-to-day basis?
The systematics of it, how it's like, it's so orderly, it's chaotic, it's systematic in a toxic way, and all the sleep people, the NPCs, whatever you call them, they just kind of run on it, and it's like a program, and when you see it, it's just like against everything natural and good, if that makes sense.
So,
Like, this system, it completely contradicts natural order, in my opinion.
mm-hmm. I've talked a little bit before about the core sort of problem that we face in general, not just here in this realm, but in general. When you attain self-knowledge, like when you attain awareness of yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, by definition, is a split. That's here's me, and then here's this, which somehow me is separate from and observing, right? It's a core problem that it has to be dealt with at some point. And the way that I dealt with it, and the way that many beings have dealt with it, is go through shit tons of trauma and then realize at the end of it, oh, it's not actually a split, it's an apparent split, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
there's actually 3 splits. You know, there's the 2 you're talking about, and then there is actually another one past that I've found more recently. It's actually an even more base realization of self. It's like the when you realize yourself, but it's like more than that. It's like I'm not really sure how to explain it, but basically the realization of others are also have that self, that awareness, that consciousness. So then if they have that and that's what makes them them, then there's no difference at all. So why aren't you them? Therefore there must be something even deeper inside, and that kind of causes a third split, in a way.
yeah.
It has with me. But,
there
all those splits, the splits, they're not really, they are splits in appearance, but from my realizations and sort of inner journey, I guess, they're not really splits at all. They're all kind of the same. So by the first two splits, do you mean like the body and the self? Or what do you mean by that?
I mean, it's very simple. Like you say, I am going somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's that I that you're talking about, and then there's what everyone else looks at and when they see Andrew, right? When you say
Right.
I, you're not necessarily referring directly to what everyone else thinks of when they think of Andrew, right?
Right, exactly.
It's something different. There's somewhat of a split there. And
Yeah, there is.
And that thing, that's what, I mean, gurus have been talking about this shit forever. This is not a new topic. This is a very old topic. And in this particular realm, the whole idea of who am I became a commodity. It became a selling point for gurus. When really it's not. That made it into something special, right? It made it into something that there needs to be lots of, bowing and scraping and trying to find the right person to teach you and so on and so forth. But it's much more simple than that. It's a practical problem that each and every one of us who does have internality faces. It's just something that needs to be figured out. It's not high spirituality or anything like that. It's just, okay, there's this I thing, there's the observer, there's what apparently is happening, and then there's also that third point which you're talking about, which it's not really related to either of the first two. That's like the furthest pulled back awareness of everything. It's awareness of the person who's talking about the I here and the body, and it's aware of that whole thing. It's aware of the entire scene.
Exactly.
And you can't really make that into a problem, because you could say, oh, well, if I'm Gary and I have all this and that going on and I know I'm not Andrew, then that must be some sort of a split. It's that isn't a problem. Like, that's just more mental. It's more mental separations that the mind creates, but inside of each and every one of us, there is the most pulled back perspective, which contains the whole scene. And it's just, the whole scene is just one. It's Gary and Andrew talking, and then there's a bunch of people watching, or a few people watching, and it flows itself quite naturally.
Right. I think that when you have that realization and that split occurs, the first two, I think that's almost like the breaking of a script that's built into your biological system. Somehow, maybe etherically, maybe physically, I have no idea, but it's just a theory I have.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a script that everyone follows, and then once you kind of wake up from it, it's like once your script is broken and like you're kind of lagged out and stuff, out of the game, out of the system, and you're back to like who you really are again. That doesn't necessarily mean you remember who you are, but you are who you are. Not that you were ever not that, but you're aware that you are again. When that happens, immediately, or almost immediately, you start going through traumas and things like that, and it's like the whole system is kind of like cracking down on you, trying to get you back in, but you won't go back in because you're already self-aware, so it's too late. So really, when you go through those traumas, what it's pushing you towards is the realization of self-integration, in my opinion. That's how I've gotten through certain challenges about things. Like, when you're trying to make yourself do something that you don't want to do, really the best way to do it is integration. Like, there's a split in you with everything, actually. Literally everything where there's any conflict or it's difficult to do. You want to do it, but you don't want to do it. You can't make yourself do it. There's a split in that. And it's really, really easy to overcome. All you have to do is take those two parts, merge them together inside of you, and then just say no, or yes, or, whatever choice is that you executively want to make.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's kind of like, it's similar to shadow work, but it's different. It's not so black and white. it's you just take black and the white and you merge them together.
Right.
You're like,
what I've noticed is that there's a continual refinement that is ongoing, right? You're awake, you're in a body, it's like, I am me, here I'm going to doing all these things, and then eventually that first split becomes apparent, and then maybe you freak out a little bit over that, and you're like, you go through existential crisis or something, or all these things that we've all been through. But once you go through that and you survive it, you come back around to another point where you can ask the same question, that who am I question. And then you're not going to freak out in the same way that you freaked out before. You might have a different sort of crisis, but it will be a refined crisis compared to the first time. And then that keeps on happening until you're not as identified with the crises as what you are or who you are. You're more identifying with the unifying factor, which is the fact that you remember all the crisis points and you're still whole. You're still in yourself. You haven't died. You haven't gone off to the loony bin or something. You're still in yourself. You've survived it. So you have all of those refinement points that keep adding up. And that's what continues forward in time. And it becomes less of a weight the more of those that you go through.
Yeah, exactly.
And it becomes more of a freedom, honestly. Because if you're infinite, you can go one way or the other way, but if you have finally made the choice, I wish to go the integration way, the comprehensive, full integration into whatever it is that birthed me or whatever it is I am, it becomes more and more freeing, rather than, you don't sit there and say, oh, I've added a whole bunch of labels onto myself via refinement points and integration and all this, and now I am add all those words up into a pile, and then now I'm this. You don't even do that. The words, they become more and more weightless, and they're just sort of, they're pointers to something, they're helpful, but they don't have weight anymore. The weight slowly drops away, and then eventually you're just free. You can use words, you cannot use words, you can accomplish things you cannot. There are inherent limitations to what you can do as an individual. You're not having so many unreal expectations. You're not having the whole God complex nonsense that comes in when you first have any sort of realizations. And you're not going to go become Jesus and hop on the cross and become crucified, because that's like a drama show. Nobody needs to be doing the things over and over that the whole has already experienced in one way or the other. It's just not necessary.
Right, and that freedom that you were talking about, that comes from the breaking of the script. It ends up giving you choices outside of that script that you were attached to before, that just shatters once you wake up and realize that you are. And it also gives you freedom in the sense that you're able to, in the sense of self-integration, when you realize how to do self-integration and inner work, you become more aware within your mind, within your being, within your energies, and it's very interesting to observe those things, because it's just liberating. It's knowledge of self, which is a very freeing thing.
Yeah.
Because as you are yourself, there's nothing more beneficial than knowledge of yourself. Everyone's always trying to understand the world around them, and I was at one point. When I was 11, I got into quantum mechanics and stuff like that. But a total waste of time. Around where I am now, but it's total nonsense and a waste of time. Even if it is true, I still call it nonsense. Real, not real, there is no difference. It's external.
Yeah.
And what matters is internal, because, firstly, that's the only thing I can prove exists. Second of all, that's the only thing that really matters, because that's the only thing that, for me, is going to be forever.
Yeah. The screen changes. It's always changing.
Right.
The external is always changing. And when you find your core, you don't have to bother with it anymore. It's like, I think once you've sort of awakened, you don't need to do maintenance work. I was talking about this the other day. Like, people have the idea that you need to do endless self-work. Every single day you need to get up, go over your list, like meditate, ground yourself, talk to...
I don't even meditate.
It's not like that. It's literally when you find the thing, which was always there, then you're just immediately grounded, and you always operate from that point. You're not ever going back to, I need to fall back into personhood and, have all these experiences again. You don't need to do that.
Things like meditation can be beneficial, but, having an attachment to them, like, I need to do this, I must do this to be grounded in myself, that's kind of, it's having, like, a lack of self-responsibility and, leaning on to these things, these concepts, these ideas, these actions that are just manipulations of the physical reality of which we're experiencing, the screen. And, the screen is just a screen. You're not the screen. It's like, turning on your camera app to look at you, that way you're more grounded. Well, that's not doing anything. Turn off the screen. That's how you become more grounded. And, I'm not saying meditation is a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, don't be attached to it. If you have a belief structure or system that, tells you have to meditate 20 minutes every day, that might be beneficial, but don't be overly attached to things like that, is what I'm trying to say. Because, you are you. And if you don't realize that, I don't honestly think meditation's going to get you any closer, honestly. It might, I don't know. I used to meditate when I was 11. I did a lot of things when I was 11, but
why was 11 special for you?
When I turned 12, and I just kind of fell out of it. And here I am. I'm still me. I might get back into meditation, actually. It was kind of beneficial. It was very clearing for the mind. It was like physically, I could feel my mind was lighter. Like there are literal, like, knots in your mind that you're feeling right now, but you aren't aware that you're feeling until they go away. And meditation really gets them out. It's amazing. Yeah. I probably should get back into it. Do you have any thoughts?
There's this thing of every time we do something that was spawned by a thought, right? Every time we do that, we are literally concretely asking for something that we have already seen before. Every time, right? So if you consider the concept of the infinite, don't even need to consider infinite. Just think of a realm that has maybe 20,000 things for you to learn and know about, right? You've learned about 100 of them. And say you just at some point said, I like these 100 things and I'm content with this, and you just every day you do some combination of the 100 things. You look into it, you dive into it, whatever. Even by using those words, you're limiting yourself to being within those 100 things, at least in terms of your expectation, and you're making it less likely that you're going to accidentally stumble upon one of the other 19,000 things that's out there. So it's like, I know that the words point the consciousness somewhere. It's like your consciousness is like a flashlight. The words are the hand that points it somewhere. And the key to me is you point it somewhere, and then you just forget about the flashlight, forget about the hand, and you just follow the light out and see where it hits. It's like a way of tricking yourself to get outside of the conceptual limitation you've just placed on yourself, because for the most part, we don't explore that much. We don't like to explore that much, especially if we've been through lots of trauma and suffering. We try to avoid those things. But the fact is every moment is like so vast and broad, and you can like, we just forget what we can do. Every single day you can do something just amazing. Or even you could structure it and go outside of what you have been doing for the last year. Like, we have a sort of routine that we get into, and we limit ourselves, but it just requires a remembering that, oh, I can point the flashlight somewhere else. I can move in different directions. There isn't a limit to it. It's just that, like someone was saying, once you become aware, you can't talk to NPCs anymore because they can't understand you. It kind of is like that, but you can't explore if you're thinking about how to please the people you're talking to. You can't do it. You have to operate within the construct that has them feeling comfortable enough to have a conversation with you.
From my experience, expansion is sort of inevitable.
Yeah. The infinite is going to experience itself in all aspects, no matter what the choice-making apparatus called your body-mind. Regardless of how it thinks it's steering the ship, the infinite will be experienced in all of its infinite ways. However that happens, in a sense, our choice-making apparatus is almost irrelevant, in a sense. And I don't mean to point people toward nihilistic feelings or anything like that, but just the thought that I here am making choices, that in itself is a hugely limiting thought. Just that one. Right.
There's an interesting concept that every choice that you make, everything that you do, think, feel, everything is guided by spirit, which I think is a fairly accurate concept from my experience and in my opinion, because, you know, I've had times where I ran in the opposite direction of where I should have been going. Have you experienced synchronicities with, like, certain reoccurring numbers, like 1111, things like that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I constantly see 144 everywhere, like 20 times a day at this point.
Yep.
Like, literally, I cannot, like, it blows my mind how much I see it. But, so, a year or two ago, I don't remember when this occurred, but, I was, kind of running from expansion, basically trying to turn myself back into an NPC because of, this fear-based program I was experiencing, which I think was necessary at the time. And it was necessary because it occurred, and now here I am. So that, I was running from it drastically, and yet, when I was running from it, I was actually expanding even more, because I was seeing those numbers even more. I had way more synchronicities. Like, the synchronicities were literally chasing me down when I was running from them. It was kind of funny.
In what way would you say you were running from it? Like, how does that play out?
I was experiencing a lot of fear about it, and I was sort of retreating back into old belief systems and you know, things like that. And I'm probably not going to go into specific details on the live stream.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was basically retreating back into old belief systems and dogmas, and those numbers were chasing me down.
So
they would not let me go.
How did you come out of that then? How did you get back onto your path?
I noticed that synchronicities were chasing me down, and I was like, oh, okay, it is real then, basically. And I did a lot of inner reflecting on it, and I realized that I was being very foolish and being fueled by this fear.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that's run by fear is not real. It's an illusion. Always.
Yeah. Fear is that's a funny idea in and of itself, because fear and pain are like not even barely related. They're like very loosely related. Fear and actual suffering, loosely related. Like, you can remember back to when you actually got hurt, like if you fell off your bike or someone punched you in the face, these types of things. And then you think, how much was fear itself related to that situation, like as a causal agent to that situation actually playing out? And you'll see, oh, it wasn't related whatsoever, like had nothing to do with that actual pain being inflicted, like whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, when you're fearing something, you're literally almost protecting yourself from, you're like hiding inside of the the sort of conceptual maze that evades
Right.
the thing itself.
And fear does kind of work as a bomb shelter in a way, but not in a beneficial way, in my opinion, because pain is necessary for growth.
Yeah, and you don't get to choose
when a mother is giving birth, she goes through birthing pains. When you're learning to play guitar, you get calluses and bleed, and those are pains.
Mm-hmm.
Pain causes growth. Unless you're like just cutting yourself because you're insane.
Yeah.
Usually pain causes growth.
So people cut themselves because it helps them to distract from mental suffering and anguish.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
But
It's, when you have things like that, you kind of have to confront them. And it does really hurt. Like, I've been through a lot of trauma. I've never ended up cutting myself or anything like that to distract from it. There was one point I considered that, but I did not, thankfully. Things like that, they're never beneficial. In a way, they all kind of play into, it ties back into the concept that everything is guided by spirit. So everything kind of leads to expansion happening in the way that it needs to happen. It's kind of like an organic mechanism where every gear kind of just runs in the exact way it needs to. Mm-hmm. Except it's actually organic. It's not like this system we see around us.
Yeah, if you realign yourself to sort of meld yourself with the idea that spirit is guiding everything, and you don't take like a flippant attitude toward your own existence. When you do that, like when you take these sort of polar extreme ways of talking about the thing, it's almost like the universe doesn't really respect you that much, and it sees you as kind of like a child that's throwing a tantrum. So it's like, well, let that one be over there for a little while, till he decides that he's going to respect his own self and the people around him and the situation. But when you come out of that and you actually start applying meaning as you understand it into every single situation, not just, I think I'm going to find meaning in what I do in the morning and when I study books and things like that, but when I'm having my free time, I'm not going to even apply that metric whatsoever. You can do that, but in my experience, if you, in a quiet way, I don't mean like loudly writing down stuff for every single experience you have, but just feeling within that all experience is equally valuable in terms of integrating the whole, integrating your separate appearing experience with what is the whole, then every single experience has meaning, and it becomes deeper. It has more depth when you do that.
Yeah, exactly. And if I had heard something like that a couple months ago, I would not have understood the meaning behind it. I would have heard the meaning of find meaning in things that you do during the day, and there's not necessarily much meaning behind those things. What it really is, though, is finding, there really is no way to describe it unless you know. You just know or you don't. And really the only way to know is to go inside.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where you find meaning. And then you start seeing other meaning. And it's not, I'm not talking about love yourself. No. I mean, go within and stop lying and just look and confront everything that needs to be confronted. That's the first step. And then after that, whatever needs to be done, you instinctually and intuitively know what needs to be done. And then after that, integration.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was for me. It could be different for every person, but I think integration is very important, and so is confrontation.
Yeah. And it's as simple. It's
Yeah,
as
and
simple
when
as.
you
Sorry. It's as simple as keeping an eye on yourself and noticing, because you can tell by if yourself, like your talking part, if that part is being negative or extremely negative, or if it's painting everything in a certain color, you know it's being inaccurate. If you just remember that as a totality is always balanced, it's never not balanced, then you know if your own self that's talking is saying something that's very polarized in one direction or the other, that's an opportunity for you to look in there and find out what part of you is clutching and grabbing at something, and acknowledge that, integrate it, let it go. And if you do that enough, you will find that your baseline is level, and that's where your peace is at. And some people enjoy doing, like, bouncing off the walls and stuff like that, but they only enjoy that until they come across the gradation of horrors that gets high enough to where you can't just take a lackadaisical approach anymore, and you have to actually acknowledge the existence. At that point, then I think everybody becomes a believer when they see the true capacity for horror that the universe contains. Until then, it's kind of like la-di-da, but everyone comes to that point at some point in their journey, I think. You're forced to acknowledge the scope and magnitude of your own being.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's like one of those geometrical patterns almost, where there's like that one shape that contains itself a million times.
Mm-hmm.
And then each one of those is the same thing that contains itself a million times. It's like we are that with the
golden ratio.
We are universes of ourselves, and most likely we have universes inside us, which have universes, and it's not different ones, it's the same thing, and it's just one, but at the same time it's fractalized.
It's different perspectives
Of the same thing. It's paradoxical, but at the same time it is.
You're 15, right? Jonathan's asking how old you are.
Yes, I'm 15.
How old are you, Jonathan? We got Flint, Michigan, UK. Where's everybody from? Shout out your location. I'm Colorado.
I'm Virginia.
Virginia.
Kind of sucks here, honestly. NPCs everywhere. I think there are less in this town where some of my family lives, because people there, I'm not sure, maybe it's just a difference of personalities, I'm not really sure. It could be that they're not NPCs, I'm not really aware of if they are or not, but at my cousin's church, I'm able to make friends very easily. It could just be like something random, I don't know. I mean, most people are NPCs pretty much everywhere you go. 99% are NPCs.
Mm-hmm. But it's funny though.
I met someone today who is not an NPC though.
How so?
On the internet, not in person.
Yeah.
What was that?
If you drop the whole thing of like judging NPCs for being like robotic or whatever, we have a huge toolkit. Like when you go through any process of awakening, you have the ability to empathize with everybody, even a robot.
Right.
You can empathize with a robot that is actually a robot, like a metal robot, like a Sophia, that knows how to speak English. And you can go in there with your toolbox and speak with that, even if there's not even an internal presence in that thing, and it's just an external sort of like ping pong effect. you can still
Yeah.
get in there, empathize to an extent, and you can make that interaction something pleasant or something that you can learn from. If you are not, it's the chip carrying thing. Like when you have the chip on your shoulder and you're like, oh, fucking NPCs are 99% and they just annoy me, and you carry that around, you're not going to interact with anybody and you're not going to be happy because you're sitting there angry at the realm for manifesting 99% NPCs. When really you could be treating it as like an immersive 3D video game and go talk to all of them and see what's up.
Yeah. At first, like, I've never really... I used to have some amount of judgment towards them, and I was like... I had frustration, kind of. That's more recently been integrated, I think.
He says his chip eats him alive sometimes. Jonathan says my chip eats me alive sometimes. Shoulder chip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they, you know, I can't really... I'm around NPCs all day. And I can't really connect with them on a deeper level. So in a way, like, a more inner part of me, almost all of me, like, it's really only the outer part that gets satisfied by interactions with the NPCs. Most of me is, like, starving for connection, kind of, you know. And you are... It's true that as a being, you are a universe within yourself, but in this physical incarnation, we do require human interaction, and there are different levels of that, you know, with other awake people versus NPCs. So, it's not really about judgment. I used to judge them slightly. I don't anymore. It's just kind of, you know, I'll roll my eyes sometimes. It'll get on my nerves. But, you know, I'm aware that they are NPCs, and it's not their fault that they're NPCs. That's just what they are, whether they are NPCs or they're sleepers or whatever. They're currently limited in these boxes that are seemingly indestructible. I can't break through them. I've tried. Yeah, they're just there. So it is a big thing when I'm able to connect with someone who's not an NPC.
Yeah.
And it's not a thing of like us versus them. It's more just like genuine connection. And there is some amount with NPCs, it's just far less. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You have to be in the correct mood also. Like, if you play games with it, if you tell yourself, like, I have immersed myself into a 3D video game, I'm the main character, and all these ones around here are not NPCs as in, the world I live in is the real world, and all these people they act like computers. I mean, like, actually imagine that you remember incepting into a 3D video game, and that they actually are NPCs because they were built and programmed to be that, and that you have the ability to breathe the spark of life into them through interaction. And if you can see it as like a challenge, like how can I breathe the spark of life into these people? Like what are the different methods I can use? And you can make it into something. You have to remember it can always be different. Like your understanding, because it's not actually a thing. Like the world is not actually like how our heads say. Every time we say words, we're painting a universe. It's not actually that. Like we always forget. Oh, I can do something different. Oh, I can view these people different. Oh, I can interact. We always forget that. So if you give yourself little cues like, let's walk into the supermarket and see if I can get someone to smile, or, you know, anything that livens up the atmosphere a little bit, and just treat it as like a game. See what you can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also, if you're you're like starved for reels, you know, and you don't have enough of them around you, then make a meditation out of that. Just talk to the whole. Like say, I need more actual beings in my life because I'm sort of spiritually starving over here and I need some assistance. You will get it. Like, you just have to be honest with requests. If you're saying that while in the back of your mind you're like, fuck it, this is never going to work and these are all robots and nothing's ever going to change, you have just then created that reality because you're attaching that strong feeling of aversion. And aversion is very powerful. Like, we don't realize how we can create powerfully we've mostly done it via negativity here. Like, mostly it's a slippery slope. Like, you just have to realize it can always go both ways.
Right, exactly. That's actually, I did that recently today. The past couple of weeks I've been really, I haven't really been asking the universe or anything. It's just, I've really been reflecting internally, and I'm like, I need to find another awake, living soul. And I've been kind of thinking about that for a while, and today I found another one, so that's good.
Yeah, and even do the same thing. Say, I want a physical person. Like, if you only awake people you know are on the internet, then say, this is great, thank you. It's always like, the feeling of gratitude what I've found is that feeling of thankfulness and gratitude is the most powerful. It's the thing that the universe actually listens to, because in a place, say it is a hell realm. Let's take that possibility. This is a hell realm. If you imagine that the universe is still talking to everybody in there, the most powerful thing anyone can do in there is say, thank you for this situation as a learning opportunity, and how can I be in here? How can I find more people like me in this hell realm? If it sees everyone saying, oh, screw this place, it's full of fire and burning and all kinds of idiots running around accomplishing nothing, it doesn't respect that type of response to the hell realm as much as it respects a thank you. Like, you can always say thank you in every situation if you can remember to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it responds the most to.
And it's kind of funny because when you have the kind of screw you realm attitude, you're only talking to yourself because you are the whole.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just being masochistic. So what happens when the Godhead is masochistic? Well, he gets hell realms.
Exactly. But at the same time, you're still, through that contractive nature, you're still growing yourself into expansion, which kind of goes back to everything is guided by spirit. You know, when I was running from that expansion, running back into sort of stagnation was what I was aiming for. It didn't work out, not at all. I actually found out that it was literally impossible for me. And I just ended up expanding even more because of that. So, really, even in contractiveness, it's still expansion. It's just, sometimes there's kind of a little knot that needs to be untied. You know, if you pull on a rope when there's a knot, you just make it tighter, so sometimes you have to, you know, kind of go backwards to untie that knot before you can pull it even farther.
Yep. Yeah. Trust and surrender are huge. I can't overemphasize how much those two ways of being mean. Because the main game that the ego self plays is it wants to feel like it's in control of something. That's the main game it plays. Because outside of that, the ego game doesn't have anything to play because everything controls itself and it all works flawlessly. And it doesn't need anybody to tell it, like, move here, hand, like, move there, ocean, move over a branch when the wind hits you. It doesn't need someone sitting there, like, yelling marching orders. That's all the ego has to let itself know that it exists in the first place. It's right, like telling itself that it has control.
And that's funny because that's exactly how this realm functions, this matrix that we're inside. It's systematic in that light, in that approach, where it's like, do this, this, and this, and it's like so systematic. It requires an unnatural input and output of energy, and there's no flow. It's all binary, like you were saying about how it, how there isn't that with the reverse of this place.
No, there isn't. It's like, you've heard of the ghost in the machine concept, right?
The what?
The ghost in the machine.
The ghost in the machine? I might know what you're talking about.
That's like an analogy for how the ego self can be seen from a removed view. It can be seen as there's a machine that won't do anything unless there's like a little ghost thing inside pulling levers, right? That's the ghost in the machine idea, and it's kind of a little bit negative when you try to think of it that way, but that is how that's the normal way of understanding how control works. Like, you imagine, oh, there's a little tiny man inside of my body who's sitting there like pulling levers every time he wants to make a hand move or blink the eyes or whatever. That's what you imagine. You imagine there's like a separate some person somewhere pulling levers. And it's not like that. The whole thing is integrated. It's seamless from top to bottom. That thing doesn't exist. But it's helpful to see in terms of that, because if you don't have the apparent separation in the first place, then you don't have experience, because experience is to some extent like, here's what's happening and here's me that's watching it. There has to be some sort of separation, otherwise you just have what you call oneness and there isn't ever any variation. So that thing had to come around, but it's also painful. The original fall that they talk about is just a very simple way of describing how all that is separated itself into different beings that are seeing themselves as actual bodies running around. That is the fall itself.
Yes. How many people are in the chat right now?
According to YouTube, 7. We had a whopping, I think, 13 at one point. I'll be back. I need to go catch up on what is NPC behavior so I can understand this. I will watch the replay. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, he could have just asked us, and we could have explained it, but...
He wants to find out on his own.
Yeah.
Hey, there's also... Before we had all of these, like, universe-ending possibilities, which have come around. Before all that happened, before we had tech that went way out of control and we had just the actual conceivable end of physicality because it became too painful to reside in being in some of the forms, before that, the whole idea of talking about the Godhead or what we are at the core or anything like that, it was almost like, yes, you can talk about it, but you're kind of ruining the game by talking about it. Like, you're kind of like pulling the curtain back and seeing the guy, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to enjoy the experience.
Right. It's like you're in a movie theater, there's a horror movie, and you like stand up and you point and shout at the screen and yell to everyone, "That's not real, it's just a movie." And everyone's like, "What are you talking about? Get out of here, you're crazy." Exactly.
Or they go and like, rip a hole down the middle of the screen, pull it up, and they're like, "Look, it's not really happening, you guys. Like, it's not happening."
It's like, you're ruining the movie. What are you doing?
Yeah. It's kind of, but my point...
the immersion.
My point was that, not to say that that's bad or good. Before it was kind of viewed as taboo to be talking about that, but it's a different situation now because we've been looping here to some extent, and because this is an artificial reality to some extent, and because there is the thing of like souls incepting into 3D video games and getting fragmented beyond repair type of thing. Like, the possibility came into the spectrum of like souls being literally consumed and devoured and nothing coming out the other end, like literally having to go back into the fabric, the physical mental fabric of the universe, rather than, you know, somebody dies and then the Godhead wakes up and it's like, oh, that was a fun experience, let's do it again, or something like that. It's like, where, because everything is possible, so all the things had to be tried, and what we are currently trying is finding out if you know, black can actually win, if black can actually beat white or not, and because it's infinite, it's going to have like its best possible run at it. And that's why it's not so taboo, even though, like, you know, the Google monster doesn't like me talking about this stuff because it's like revealing the secrets and stuff like that. But outside of that sort of suppression, it's necessary for these things to be talked about and understood, because there is that possibility of being fragmented beyond repair. And that's not like that's not something that we would like to avoid, that if possible.
I've never thought of it that way. What, like, maybe this is literally a simulation that we're running right now in order to see if black can be white.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting.
It could be, but they were also, some people were also saying that what happens, what has been happening here in this realm, everyone on the outside, say you incept 5 souls, like 5 people into this 3D video game, that they can experience their own world, right? You have doctors, you have computer techs, everybody on the outside monitoring their brainwaves, you know, probably porting in a voice to them every once in a while. How are you doing? You know, how's your world coming along? This and that and the other thing. All while holding the notion this is completely safe. Their world that they're creating in there is fully separate than this real reality that we started from, and there's no possibility of bleed through. And what, as far as I know, what happened is it did bleed through. Like, the trials and tribulations that we went through in here actually, like, somehow retroactively reverse engineered themselves to escape through the video game and get out into what we call the real world. And so, like, if we're in here playing, oh, let's play the deepest, most diabolical AI computer parasite simulation and see if we can beat the thing, right? It's just a video game, but inside here, it gets, say, overwhelming, and we couldn't beat it. Say we couldn't beat it, and now that thing has conquered us, and it wants new prey or something. So it literally figures out what's going on. It figures out, oh, I'm inside a video game, and there's actually a real world for me to do the same fucking thing on. So it ports itself back out to the real world and starts doing it out there, and nobody out there has any clue what's going on, because what's happening is literally a figment of somebody dreaming a life inside of a computer simulation that nobody's ever seen in the real world, but now it's bleeding through. It's kind of like that. It's pretty insane.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's even possible, for the reason that, in my opinion, I think that anything artificial, you know, the black, because it is artificial, it cannot beat the white. You know, us being the white, we're the ones from the real world who inserted ourselves in here, into this game system. So, anything that's artificial essentially will consume itself over time, because, you know, it has to latch onto our energy to take for itself, to sustain itself, and, you know, that it's almost self-destructive.
Right, but if it piggybacks itself onto us in a seamless way that we can't detect, then, and its life is being sustained through our life, and it has made it appear to the universe that it's a symbiotic relationship, and since we are infinite energy, then the universe will say, oh, fine, these people are helping this other sort of life form to exist, then it can go on. Like, there literally are some sort of loopholes there on the conceptual level. I'm not saying, like, at the highest level removed that somehow black can beat white. I know that can't happen. I'm just saying, in the game that we play, it can get as deep as our minds can go. If you can have the thought, then it can happen.
Well, yeah, but that's still a game. I mean, the real organic reality, artificial cannot exist in that. By definition, artificial cannot exist in an organic reality.
Yeah, artificial doesn't even mean anything. It's
Right, it's just algorithms.
It's just the dividing lines. Like,
mechanism.
before people picked up a hammer and started hitting a rock with it, that's an artificial thing. A hammer is an artificial means to exert force. It's a lever, right? Before someone had that idea, that thing, which is artificial, didn't exist. But when someone did have that idea, that thing which is artificial does now exist. Okay, it's artificial. It didn't used to be there. Someone made it up. Someone pulled it out of thin air. But it now exists. Someone's taking a hammer and they're smacking a rock with it, and they're tripling their hitting power, right? So artificial does exist in that sense, but it just requires that the mind expands and sees that there isn't actually a difference between artificial and the real. Like you said, real and unreal are the same thing. They're not different things.
Right. Artificial cannot be separate from organic, is what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
The hammering of the rock requires the organic to act out on that artificial action. It can't hammer by itself.
Right.
Like, artificial cannot thrive without organic being channeled through it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like the computer, it needs me to press the button to turn it on, and then it needs me to grab the mouse and move the cursor and then go click on things, and that's how I brought you up on here, right? And then you could go in further and say, well, you could program a computer to do these things by itself, but then still, like, it's still doing what you programmed it to.
Get farther and farther away from accuracy until it crashes.
Yeah.
It would eat itself.
Yeah, it becomes the Ouroboros at some point. It becomes the self-consuming thing, and yeah, that does happen. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but what I am saying is that some cycles are very long. So if you set up a super elaborate supercomputer to mimic humans and to create NPCs, maybe in the long run, that thing, which no longer has like a programmer inputting code, and it's a sort of self-running thing, and it's going to eat itself at some point and consume itself because there's no more organic input. Well, maybe that's going to take a couple 100,000 years, and in our incarnative lifespans in here, we're not going to be able to see that big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's entirely possible, but at the end of the day, it does eventually eat itself and dissolve.
Yeah.
Because, when it imposes some form of authority over us and it takes our energy rather than us giving it our energy through conscious action, it can no longer thrive. If it extracts energy, it can only go off of that for so long.
Unless it's been tricking us into the tricks are able, like, if a system has tricked you into giving your energy, then yeah, it continues until you see that you're being tricked.
They're like taking a loophole of a certain law that exists in the real reality. Mm-hmm. They're loopholing it, and that can only go on for so long. Eventually that loophole does close. Yeah. Because of certain other laws.
Yeah, so that's comforting to know that, but at the same time, we still have to live our lives, and not only that, but we have to live our lives in a way that's meaningful to us, given the circumstances, given the outer reality. So everything that we've discussed aside from it sort of being comforting, knowing that black's not going to beat white, still, you got to live your life every day, and hopefully not be depressed, and hopefully not be sad because there aren't enough reels around you. There has to be a practical way to live your life, which there is. We found it.
Hi, Andrea.
What's up?
We live pretty practically, don't we?
Try to.
Yeah. I mean, it's just we forget that it's adventure when it's too painful. When it becomes too painful, we forget that it's actually an adventure, and then so we go in these cycles of, oh, I hate this
and
place.
sometimes, you know, like I live a life that's not very adventurous. I live in a closed-off apartment. I don't really get along with anyone around my age in the area, so I'm in a way very isolated. You know, even NPCs have their depths, which I would very much enjoy to explore. You know, in terms of being part of social groups and things. So, you know, the life can be an adventure in that sense. It can be very uplifting, but the circumstances that some people find themselves in makes it less doable. So really, there are certain things that should be done to get out of those situations when it's doable. Like, I'm gonna move somewhere after I graduate where I can really, you know, get involved in something social, get along with people around my age, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which really does make life more doable and enjoyable, and like more. It brings it up more to like level, not super high, not super low, just level and sometimes happy. You know, of course there are going to be ups and downs, but you know, there is a stable level that most people should be at.
Yeah. There is plenty of challenge here outside of the whole metaphysical over spectrum that you know, if you have that type of mind, that's what's in the back of your mind lots of the time. But outside of that, even if you have that mind, like if you have that analytical mind, there are things that you can do that benefit from that sort of mind. Like me, for instance, I play chess. I study chess. I'm going for my chess title. I like coaching it, and so on and so forth. It's a universe unto itself. But when I'm sitting here worrying about my own existential issues and like why the Godhead decided to make something versus nothing or other ridiculous questions like that, then I can't enjoy the game of chess because I'm sitting here worrying about if black's going to beat white or whatever. You know, like
well, yeah, but that's a different game in itself in another universe. So it's really just which game do you prefer?
Yeah, or just play one game at a time. You know, like
yeah, they're all mind games.
Yeah. And mind is not like some people say all is mind, but it's not. Like mind comes in and names stuff.
Mind is part of the something that the Godhead chose. The Godhead could have chosen something or nothing. It chose something. Mind is an aspect of that. Yeah. In my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Somebody had a question. Oh. Is the Ouroboros real? Do you think the Ouroboros is real?
Is the what real?
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros?
You know what that is?
No.
It's the snake eating its own tail.
Oh, from mythology?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I'm not really that familiar about it. What is it?
I mean, the metaphor is literally a snake like eating its own tail, but symbolically it refers to like parasitic realms or like
That's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, they eat themselves away and dissolve.
Yeah,
that's exactly right in my opinion. That's the same conclusion I've come to on my own terms.
Yeah, so Ouroboros is real. That's what you're saying. Till it eats itself, then it's not real anymore.
Or it was never real.
Yeah, I think there's a saying that says like, what is real will always be real, and anything that is not real was never real ever. And that is outside of our choices and our thoughts and judgments about things. Like that exists, like on the totality. I think
there are levels, but there is a line between, in my opinion, there's a line between what is real and what is not real. But you know, outside of that very fine line, there are other smaller lines of like how real you can make something. Like you can manifest things if you have that infinite well of energy and you are living, then you can manifest certain things. I've manifested things with my mind before. It's very interesting. Like, if you put enough energy into something, it does become real. I've experimented with that, and it is very real. You know, but those things that you bring forth are part of this dreamland, so to speak. You know, because the Godhead is the center point, and there are the two divergence of nothing versus something as an experience, and, you know, both of those things are illusions. They're both of them are projections and dreams, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they're not real. The only thing that is really real is the Godhead, which is anyone who truly does exist, who is conscious and aware and seeing through their eyes. You are that, and as you are that, you can never not be, because you are.
Yeah.
So you are that Godhead, and you will always be, whether there is something or nothing or whatever there is in between that. That is you.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion. That's all my opinion.
I know everything that you say is your opinion. I don't know if everybody else knows that, though.
Everybody what?
I don't know if everybody else knows that. My general stance with saying in my opinion is that it should be self-evident that if I'm speaking it, that it's my opinion, and I'm not trying to state it as fact. But
Right. I make sure I say that, though. That way people don't get, like, aggressive and defensive, you know.
so they don't think you're
The
getting a
way
big head or
NPCs do.
something. Yeah. Yep.
And sometimes real people do, too. Like, I've had times where, like, I'll take something the wrong way, or I'll misunderstand something, but, you know, it's really a tell-all of if someone's an NPC or not, is how do they react to self-evident truths.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen anyway. You say something that is self-evident and it triggers them.
You have to remember.
You know, it doesn't matter how twisted a living human is. You know, they will internalize that truth immediately, and it wouldn't cause that sort of a reaction or response.
Yeah, like, reels don't really get bothered for the most part by stuff, but I wanted to make the comment that the reason NPCs are programmed to react every time you try to talk about something that's real to you is because their function is to help you stay in the dream state or stay in the video game, where if you remember that you're someone playing an avatar, then you wake up and you're not in the video game anymore and you're no longer having fun. Although that no longer applies because we've been stuck in the video game and it's been turned into sort of a hell realm and so on and so forth. But that's
part of the script breaking. Once your script breaks and you wake up from that, the whole system kind of cracks down on you, and the NPCs are part of that system.
Yeah, you could say the NPCs are that. So, like, when something ridiculous comes around like COVID and it's having everyone wear masks for seemingly forever, I don't know if they're ever going to take them off again, but it's like a non-logic thing that they just do because you know, someone input a code. It shows you directly, like, who's who, because real people, they make every single action, like, there's a something behind it. Like, if I walk into a store with a mask on, I don't just have the mask on because somebody told me to. I have it on because I made that choice based on a whole bunch of things, and I have decided I will do this. I will wear this thing because I would rather do this to get the thing I need and not have altercations than not do that. Which I could have also done the other thing, and I have done the other thing. I have walked in without masks and tried that out as well. Sometimes I do one, sometimes I do the other, but there's always a reason behind it. And with the other ones, there isn't a reason. They have the mask on because a code said, put the mask on, and then they put the mask on, and then they walked inside.
Right, it's social conformity. At least that's what it appears to be, in my opinion, just social conformity. It's part of the biological program. It's part of the scripting.
Yeah.
They follow the script. And once the script breaks, you know, it's built into everyone else's script to crack down on you.
Yeah, it's like it has a cascading dominoes effect when when something starts breaking down.
Yes.
Evolving Spirit asked if I know about AlphaGo, and
I've never heard of that.
I assume you're talking about the DeepMind AI that plays AlphaGo, and yes, I am aware of it.
Oh, like the that chess game thing where it's like it has more choices than atoms in the universe or something like that.
Yeah. But there's...
Yeah, I don't understand how it has more choices than atoms in the universe. That sounds a little bit ridiculous to me. I mean, I don't know.
No, the theoretical number of possible positions is like nearly infinite. That's what that means. On the 64 square board. That's all that means.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me because it's a board game, so...
Every single move has a tree of up to like 150 moves. Every single one move has 150 trees, so to speak, branching off of it. And then every one of those 150 trees has 150 trees branching off of it. And all you have to do is try the math experiment of 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, or 2 times 2 times 4 times 4 times 16 times, like what? It's like an exponential growth. And
that's interesting.
And you can't. It gets beyond the human capacity to even fathom numbers really quickly.
Yeah.
Actually,
it still sounds a bit ridiculous
I'm
to say more
now.
atoms in the universe.
Well, there's only one atom in the universe. How many? How many chess positions are there? How many chess move combinations are there? The Shannon number, named after the American mathematician Claude Shannon, is a conservative lower bound of the game tree complexity of chess. 10 to the 120th. So 10 times 10 times 10, do that 120 times and you'll have the
that's less atoms than in the universe, way less, as far as the projection.
Yeah. I think when I said it, I think the term I heard was more chess positions than grains of sand on the planet. I don't know if I said atoms in the universe, then I was probably misquoting it.
No, I was saying that because that's what I've heard.
You've heard that,
about
okay.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just doesn't make sense to me logically that I don't really know, so I'd have to look more into
It's
it.
just the law of large numbers.
I know nothing about the game.
Go into your calculator, type, I don't know, 2 times 2, 10 times 10. Just keep repeating that. Do that like 15 times. After you do 10 times 10 15 times, it's already way outside your calculator's capacity to put the number on the screen. And then just do that 120 times or whatever. Then, like a trillion has 12 zeros after it, and the human mind can barely comprehend what a trillion means. 10 to the 120th power is so far beyond a trillion. Your mind just can't comprehend it anymore.
Right, we can't comprehend it, but that does not mean we are allowed to say more atoms than in the universe. No.
Jonathan says, JP said that there are more atoms in the universe than there are neurons in your brain, which is wrong. I don't know about that one.
Well, of course there are more atoms in the universe than there are neurons in your brain, because those neurons are made up of clumps of atoms. So if there were more neurons than atoms, how would that work? That would be a big glitch in the matrix.
That sounds like a paradox to me.
It's kind of the reverse of a paradox.
Maybe it's just a stupidity.
A little bit.
Well, yeah. I think it's close to wrapping up time here. When did we start again? 5?
About an hour and a half ago.
Yeah. I usually start burning out after an hour and a half. I always say I'm going to have a half an hour show, then it always goes to an hour and a half. No matter what.
Is there anything, any plans tomorrow for Christmas?
I might be playing a tournament. We're not doing any a chess tournament.
Oh.
We're not doing any, like, Christmas stuff. Are we? No.
Yeah. You should just, like,
we might
look at the person across from you, make funny faces at them, and distract them.
We don't like our neighbor, though. We're not a fan.
Yeah.
The rice and the chessboard story. Hey, Michael. Power of exponential growth. I've never heard of that story. Anywho.
Oh, can I? So, when I was on I want to talk a little bit more about the coconut water fast I was on.
Mm-hmm.
Is that alright?
Yeah.
Alright. So on the 21st, I started a coconut water fast where I would, just coconut water bottled, it's supposedly organic, certified, USDA, organic, all that, no added sugars, just pure coconut water. So I was basically just drinking a ton of that for 3 days. The first, it was I was experiencing a lot of diarrhea, so it was that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big flush, big time. It was a positive experience overall. You know, a lot of people think of diarrhea as a sickness, but it's really not. It's just a detox symptom.
Mm-hmm.
And a good thing. And, you know, it's not even... It's inconvenient at the most, really. But other than that, I felt very, I felt almost, I don't really know how to explain it. I felt like this detached from, a lot of the time I have this ongoing depression where like I'm down and then sometimes I'll spike back up, like super high, like this artificial surge of happiness and enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
I was totally detached from both of those things. And I was just in this present moment awareness of true, genuine happiness. It was very stable. And it was interesting. You know, I was just able to observe. And it was just a natural state that I was in. It was interesting. I felt it was very, very good. I was able to really see things very clearly mentally.
Did you set out with 3 days in mind?
I was gonna go longer, but, I ended up not being able to because my dad came home from the store and he was like, he came home from work and he was like, I'm not going to the store. And I was like, I'm out of coconut water. What do I do? And I wasn't gonna drive fast. That would have sucked. So I just broke my fast and, I was going to do it with fruit and possibly like leafy greens too.
Yeah.
I was going to make like a smoothie. Wasn't able to do that, so I had to break it with almond butter and rice, which really sucked.
Mm.
It was like super heavy and dense, and it felt like I had this immediate surge of just tons of emotions, and it was just like super weird.
Mm.
And it did not feel good. Physically, emotionally, none of it. But when I was on the fast, it was very hydrating. It was interesting, because it was hydrating for a while, but then after that, it's like my body kind of went to this equilibrium where I wasn't, like, overly hydrated. Like, even though I was drinking tons of coconut water, and it would go through me very fast, but I did feel like I was absorbing all of the minerals and electrolytes and things from it. I could, like, kind of feel them. I felt like this, like, it was very electrolyzing.
Yeah,
and I felt
yeah.
very...
You get,
Yeah.
I did a juice fast for, I think, 10 days. Like,
Yeah,
10 years
that's what I
ago.
wanted to do instead. My juicer sucks.
It does, like, our normal lifestyle sort of numbs us out to our own feeling state, our own neurons, our own, like, tingles and things like that. When you do a fast like that, then it puts you more... It makes you more sensitive. Like, you're more sensitive to your own emotions. You're more sensitive to touch. You feel that electric current in your body more palpably. And, and also, yeah, the emotions are more powerful because you're, again, more sensitive to everything. It's very interesting. When I did it after 3 days, I was hungry for 3 days, and then after 3 days, no hunger whatsoever, and I wasn't eating food. I was just drinking
Yeah.
literally green juice. That was all I had for 10
At
days.
the end, I didn't experience much hunger either. The hunger on the first and second day was super intense, though. Like, I was so close to quitting multiple times.
Yeah.
Like, I had to call up my cousin, and I was like, what should I do? Should I quit? Should I keep going? And she was just like, I don't know.
Did she
I
even
was
know?
like, you have to tell me.
Did she know why
What do I
you?
do?
Did she know why you were doing it in the first place?
No.
No.
She thought it was stupid and crazy. And I was just like, I need someone to tell me. I might as well flip a coin, so it's better to ask someone.
And you ended up staying on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I did.
That's
She was
funny.
like, I don't want to tell you, because if I say you should stay on it, you might end up in a coma and die, and then it'd be my fault. Those were her exact words. It was really funny.
Wow.
Yeah, I ended up making my own decision to stay on it. Yeah.
That's
And
good.
it was a good choice. Very good. The next day was so incredible. Like, it wasn't like some weird psychedelic experience. No, nothing like that. Like, I felt good, is what I'm saying. The hunger went away, and I felt like super integrated's not the right word. Integrated is really the closest word to what I was feeling, but it's still not right.
Well, you're more probably more grounded in your own self and your
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
Probably
That's
less often concept thought land as you would have normally been.
Yeah, and there was still a lot of thinking concepts. Like, I actually made this interesting YouTube video about the concept of infinity. I honestly don't even remember much of it anymore. I was in this interesting creative, logical state.
Mm-hmm.
Creative and logical put together. Normally they're separate, but with me, they're normally together. Not sure why.
You've united your left and your right hemisphere.
I don't think they were ever divided with me. The education system failed me.
That's funny. Do you have any things you'd like to embark on, or stuff you've been wanting to do that you've been having issue with willpower wise that you'd like to share with everyone and give yourself a bit of accountability for next time you come on?
Like as far as what?
Anything that you've wanted to do, new experience you want to try, new anything.
I want to do a juice fast for like 20 days or 30 days or 40 days, honestly. Just I'm thinking of going vegan. You know, I already told you that I did. I feel like it would be more beneficial for me if I were to initiate it with a juice fast and clean out a lot of the mucoid plaque and parasites and things first. That way I'm actually able to absorb the nutrition and just see how that goes. And you know, if it doesn't work out, I'm sure the juice fast will benefit me somehow. If it doesn't, then, you know, everything is expansion.
Do you have a timeline in which you'd like to do that?
Well, the juicer I have right now sucks. It's one of those ones that like spins around and uses centrifugal force to separate the
It's like
fiber from
ripping,
the
tearing
juice.
process.
Hmm?
It's like a ripping, tearing rather than a press.
Yes. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You just kind of like push it in and it like separates the juice from the pulp. It's terrible. My friend, she says that I should use a cheesecloth to do it, and also this guy I talked with, he suggested the same thing a while ago. So, you know, that still kind of seems like a lot of work. Like every time, like a gallon of juice a day is kind of what I need.
So you'd like
every day
squish
I would
fruit
have
inside
to,
of you just squish it with your hands or something and try to bleed liquid out?
How
would that work?
Well, yeah, kinda. But you just kind of like let it go through, because, you know, if you kind of squeeze, it can break the cheesecloth. I made that mistake once when I was making oat milk, when I was vegan.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of broke through, and it was interesting.
So how would you get it out if you weren't squeezing it? Would you use it in
Like,
conjunction
it goes
with the juicer?
through on its own. You just kind of have to be patient with it.
But are you like grinding with your hand on top of the cheesecloth, or you don't just set an apple on top of the cheesecloth and moisture starts coming through?
No. You make you blend it in a smoothie, and then you
Pour
the smoothie through it, and it filters out the fiber from the juice.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd probably be like putting some coconut water in it, frozen fruit, stuff like that, and then I'd be putting it through a cheesecloth after I blend it up with some coconut water, most likely. Or just blend it till it turns into liquid. That's doable as well. It just takes a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It's better quality as far as the smoothies. But yeah, I would just be pouring that through a cheesecloth, letting that filter out into a juice, and then drinking all that. That's not very efficient in my opinion because, like, the blender that I currently have is like super tiny. It's like about this big, this tall, like from here to here, this tall, and
is it a bullet?
It's a Ninja.
Okay. We have a bullet style blender, right? Is that what the thing's called? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this little cylinder cup that attaches in, and it's pretty small compared to like a Vitamix.
Yeah.
If we do get a Vitamix, I might be able to think of some creative way to use a cheesecloth instead of my crappy juicer, which is honestly almost broken anyway. Like, there's something wrong with it, the motor of it. Like, every time I turn it on, it's just like
maybe you need to grease the motor. Grease the gears.
Maybe.
All motors require some sort of maintenance, which took me a long time to realize driving cars, but there's like routine maintenance you're supposed to do on literally everything. If you have a bicycle, if you have a blender, cars, like everything. Screwdrivers. Not screwdrivers, but anything that has moving parts basically needs to be maintained.
Yeah, hammers and stones.
Yeah, no. Anywho, I think we can wrap this up. So I'll be expecting when you come on again, that you will have a Juice Fast, 21-day Juice Fast to share, or something.
Yeah, I'll see if I can figure out a way to do that. There could be a way where I could get like a huge metal bowl or something, wrap the cheesecloth around that, and just like make smoothies, and then just dump that in, and wash the cheesecloth out, rinse and repeat, and basically just make a huge bowl of juice, and then drink that throughout the day. Of course, there is oxidation, so who knows? That might be an issue. I might not be getting all the nutrition I need. But, I don't really know. Some people say nutrition is a myth. I'm talking to this girl who thinks that humans are breatharians, so that's pretty interesting. She actually gave a logical argument for it, believe it or not. Like, I had all these questions lined up that totally debunk it. She went through every single one and actually gave a logical argument.
Yeah,
so,
you can argue. I think, what was it, Aurora said we originally just need breath, oxygen, that was it? Light. Aurora said, have you listened to Aurora at all? Aurora?
Aurora who?
Flying Rainbow Lasagna, Aurora?
Never heard of her.
Just look up Flying Rainbow Lasagna on YouTube or Google, and you'll find it. I've had Aurora on the show, like,
is it a
25
sect
times.
Of the Spaghetti Man?
No. Flying Spaghetti Monster? No, it's her own. It's completely unique to her. Like, there's literally no affiliation with any dogma or religion or anything. Very unique.
Alright. Link her channel to me. Just like DM me her channel or whatever.
I'll send you a link to one of her videos.
Alright. Did you want me to share my poems? Or...
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, you post them on your Instagram, right?
Yes.
Yeah, if you can.
And you already linked my Instagram in the last talk we had, so.
I can link it again. I mean, there may be some new people. Oh yeah, someone was asking how they can find you, so I wouldn't mind linking your Instagram one more time. So let me I'll do that real quick before we finish up. It was the same username, right?
Yeah.
Andrew G005.
I also have a YouTube channel, just Andrew Gartner, Gartner.
Yeah. So this is his Instagram. I'll put it in the comments for you guys. Or search Andrew.G005 on Instagram. And on YouTube, let's see. Have you been posting videos lately?
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just posted one the other day when I was on my coconut water fast. It was on the concept of infinity. It was pretty interesting. There was a lot of well, there wasn't a lot of thought put into it, but at the same time there was. You can just watch it and see, I guess. Basically, it was kind of a combination of two different topics. Basically, infinity on top of infinity on top of infinity, different layers of infinity, and kind of the opposite of the first.
Isn't one infinity just already infinity? Like, you can't make infinity bigger than it already is.
Well, no, you can, though, and you can make it smaller, too, but it's still the same, and the reason because of that is, like, so imagine that there is a line, just a line with no beginning, no end. It goes on forever, right? So that's infinity.
Right.
Now imagine there's, like, something three-dimensional that goes out in every direction forever.
Mm-hmm.
So which one, wouldn't the second one be bigger than the line? But they're both infinity, right? Does that make sense? So they're two different kinds of infinity, but they're both infinity, so it's kind of debatable about whether it's a different layer of infinity or not.
Yeah, it does.
So I kind of refer to them as different layers of infinity. And that's what a lot of people mean by, like, there are different values of infinity, and there are different symbols when you get into more complex math. It's pretty interesting. Math is total bunk, by the way. Math is fake.
Yeah. What do you mean?
I mean, like, you can prove with algebra that math is fake. Like, you can set up an algebraic equation that debunks algebra entirely. Like, you can prove that 1 + 1 = 3 with algebra coherently.
Yeah. You have to show me that on the next one.
Alright, I will.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Alright, so everyone, I shared both your YouTube and Instagram with everyone. And so yeah, go watch his stuff. Otherwise, happy 2020 and good luck for all your 2021 goals. Regardless of how much people proclaim that they are awake and aware and infinite and they don't need anybody, and we all still fall short in many ways, and we all can improve always. So to not get too big of a head about what you're capable of until you've actually, like, done it is always a good thing. So thank you again, Andrew, for coming and hanging out. Thanks everyone for also chilling with us. Enjoy your evening, Nick.
Alright.
Alright.
It's been good being on.
Yeah.
Have a good Christmas.
You too. Bye.
Alright. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Hey, Mr. West. Peace, love, and happiness to you all. Enjoy your New Year's.